As we continue with OG Sports Radio, it's your boy, Professor G, and I'm joined by another Detroit OG, the sports editor of the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder. Support black newspapers, y'all, as we continue to move it. Charles Hallman, thank you for joining us on the program. And initially, I thought we were going to be talking about the passing of one Lem Barney. According to now numerous reports, um, there may have been a premature rush to judgment as it relates to the passing of Lem Barney. But whatever the case may be, I would like to get your thoughts as one who grew up in the D watching Lem Barney. What do you remember about him as a player? Who do you think he would compare to these days?
Well, first of all, thank you, Mark, for having me on. We've known each other for a long time. I appreciate you having me here. When I was growing up in Detroit, everybody loved Lem Barney. He was the man. If you played football in the streets or played street football, everybody wanted to be Lem Barney because Lem Barney's statements was an interception. He got an interception. Oh, I'm Lem Barney. I got an interception. He was just a very popular player during his days there. And, a lot of people don't know. He also sang on Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. Yeah, so he was a singer too, but he was very popular. And I never met him in person. I never, got to see him on play, obviously. But everybody you always compared yourself to Lem Barney. If you didn't play on the defensive line, you played a linebacker or also a defensive back, you compared yourself. In fact, I had a friend who used to call himself, he was stupid. He was Stan Barkley. He was going to find a way to use that name.
It's funny, man. He was a Renaissance man. I mean, and we had a lot of brothers at that time in pro sports who were like double dipping, regular season, working basically for fish heads and rice as a football player, but it opened up a lot of doors. And that was one of the things I loved about Lem Barney is the fact that he was the consummate Renaissance man. I mean, from football to singing, game analysis with Charlie Neal on BET. Yeah. I mean, this dude kind of did it all, right?
He never seemed to lose out of touch. Everybody knew him, no matter what generation he was involved in. Everybody knew who Lem Barney was. Like I said, I'm fortunate I was alive and young enough to remember seeing him in his playing days and recognize him as his greatness. I'm glad he's in the Hall of Fame, and I wish him good health and everything. But no, Lem Barney, hey, he's an institution. He's just as big in Detroit as Gordie Howe was, as Mark Fitchett was when his brief time. Sparky Anderson. You name anybody that's supposed to be a part of Detroit.
Dave Bing, yeah.
Yeah, he's part of Isaiah Thomas. Anybody. Barney's in that group. And I mean high in that group, not no middle group. No, he's high on that group. No, I wish I had a chance. I love to talk with him. I would love to have a chance to sit and talk to him, share those days. Like everybody in the street want to be Lem Barney.
Charles Hallman is our guest. He is sports editor of the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder newspaper in Minneapolis, but he grew up in the D. So let's be clear about that, y'all. He's a hometown superstar who left to do his thing around the way. But when a story like this happens, it kind of all brings us back home. And for black kids in Detroit, let's talk about him as a role model because there were a lot there. Mel Farr falls into that category. We mentioned Dave Bing, who would become mayor at some level.
Detroit,
And you talked about the impact that he had on you guys who wanted to be like him athletically. Let's talk about him as the community member who recognized his platform could help him do great things.
Well, I think, Mark, unfortunately, many of this generation, he lived in the city. He lived in the community. So therefore, it wasn't a problem seeing him in the community doing something. It had to be a team's function. It had to be something he had to do contractually. He was in the hood. How far was in the hood? I mean, the story about Willie Horton left the game in his uniform trying to get people to stop disturbing during the disturbance of night.
The riots you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah. So, and he had a bar. He owned a bar in the neighborhood. So it's always you had a respect for him, and it was never like, oh, I can't go and talk to Lem Barney. I never ran into him, but people that ran into him, he didn't push you away.
No, he
It
did
wasn't
not.
about, oh, I'm too big. No, he was always, and Dave King was like that as well. And then Isaiah became that. When he moved to Detroit and stayed there. Joe Dumars.
Joe Dumars, right?
Just name the players. Rick Mahorn is still involved, even though the fact they cut him like they did. He's still involved in Detroit in some form and fashion. So, no, Lem he's a, I wish these younger generation would learn from people like him. Learn how you can connect with the community. Don't distance yourself. Don't connect yourself. Because Black kids need to see and hear from you. They need to talk to you. They need to touch you, not just see you, at an autograph session, not to see you in a nosebleed section from the game because they can't get close to you anymore. But they need to see you close up. And that bothers me. Even the damn Mark you saying, and I was saying, what, we got local Black players here in town. They don't connect. The last player I really saw connected with the community and wasn't obligated to do that was Stephon Marbury.
Mm. Charles Hallman is our guest. He is sports editor of the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder. He's also a true blood Detroit, Michigan homie. And don't y'all forget that. So I'd be remiss in our last few minutes if I didn't get your thoughts on the saga that is J.J. McCarthy. All right. As a guy from Michigan, watching, shall we say, an up and down season to say the least, what are your thoughts on a guy who's basically a redshirt freshman in the NFL?
What they did to him was a tragedy. They should have kept a backup veteran to school him. What they did was they wanted to prove the world that draft pick wasn't the wrong draft pick. They wanted to throw him out there, and they don't have the offensive line to protect him. He got a concussion 2 weeks ago, or he said he had a concussion. It's just that you threw him out in the wolves on a team that was considered a contender.
Right.
He wasn't ready for that. I mean, he's a nice kid. I mean, but he wasn't ready. He like putting a junior varsity kid on the varsity game against your rival. Okay, and you say, okay, you're gonna start. And he wasn't ready. So the biggest mistakes that Minnesota made is not on him, but on the front office and on the coaching staff. Not so much the coaching staff so much, but you didn't bring in a key person, a quarterback or two, to work with, to be with him and just move him in. So you moved him in, and he got hurt. He been hurt 2 or 3 times. And then you couldn't find him. By that time, you couldn't find a credible veteran to bring in. They messed up on Sam Denard. They should have kept him. But they were so certain that McCarthy was going to be the man, they let Sam walk. And then, so yeah.
Now let me jump in before we get out of here, because we got a little bit of time before I got to. Do you said the organization did bad to him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think he should have been a backup coming into this season as opposed to the full-time starter, and you have that other starter around? Because to me, with the injury happening the way that it did, it really kind of put the team in a bad place.
The rule should have been, they should have locked up Sam Bernard, and then he would have been back, with no question. But they lost Sam, so now they had to figure out, well, we got to make him starter, and he wasn't ready. Like I said, you put this man in a bad position. And now, understand, Mark, nobody's getting on him,
Right.
He's a sympathetic figure. They jumping on
O'Connell, yeah.
They're jumping on the DM. They're jumping on these two because y'all the ones that put them out there.
They did.
And didn't give him a chance to develop. And now he's trying to learn the fire. This not the G League. It's NFL.
And he's coming off an injury too, man. So that was I always thought that the great front offices in the game were forward thinking. Maybe they were thinking ahead but it just wasn't right, because
It's
we did think that at this point in the season, they would be challenging for a number one seed in a wide open NFC. Now that Philly's down, and suddenly, they're scratching and clawing, just trying to hang in as a playoff team.
and you got players like Justin Jefferson scratching his head. You just losing career years out of people because you made this one bad mistake. You didn't bring in a veteran quarterback, seasoned veteran, and have McCarthy learn under him. You didn't do that. And that's a mistake. And that's why people are not blaming McCarthy. They blame the front office because this kid wasn't ready. And you should not throw him out there. He's doing his best. Unfortunately, his best ain't good enough on a team that's supposed to be content.
Point well taken. I got about a minute to go with you. Give me your thoughts on the Timberwolves right quick. Ant-Man, is he solely focused on being great, or is he more committed to being a personality?
He's focused on being great. People I know that, around him, he is focused. The problem with the Timberwolves is their defense. They think they can outscore everybody. And that's, they have two sets of defense. They have one with Gobert on the floor. They have one without Gobert. And the one without Gobert on the floor doesn't help them because now you're making Gobert be all these kind of things. They got to improve defensively. They really do. They really have not settled so much on a point guard. As much as I love Mike Conley, he is not a 40-minute man.
Not anymore, no.
And so, therefore, Rob Dinningham is struggling. He's come off injury. He tried to play through injury, and that hurt him, set him back. He hasn't figured out how to play in the NBA yet. He's too quick, and the speed is too fast for him. And that makes no sense, does it? But he's too quick. The speed of the game is too fast for him.
Gotcha. That's a recipe for disaster, unless you got the right kind of more position coach that you're talking about. But we're going to talk to you a little bit later on down the line, my friend. Detroit's own Charles Hallman, sports editor of the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder. And remember, y'all, support Black newspapers, support the Black press. You want the real for real that's happening in your community? Somewhere the story is being told by someone in the Black press like Charles Hallman. Dude, I'll be hollering back at you, man. Tell your folks goodbye and get some rest so you'll be good to go the next time we bring you home.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
All right, take care. We got more of what you came here for on the other side. It's OG Sports Radio on Sports Rap, the network. And in the interest of full disclosure, the story broke on Saturday that Lem Barney had passed away, and it was officially announced by the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Since then, there has been a retraction of said story. However, as we do understand it, the Barney family has made it known that he is not in the best of states, but he has yet to pass away. We lift up our prayers to him and his family. And what is up? I'm extremely pissed off today, but, it's not my fault because sometimes there are people in their jobs who don't know what they're doing and they put out misinformation that takes a life of its own. And I have been party to it. We open up this edition of OG Sports Rap. I'm your boy, Professor G. Mark Gray. I spell it Mark with a K, Gray with an A. You can always hit me up on social media at The Sports Groove, 24/7, 365, computer, smartphone, tablet, however you get your social media groove on. I'm there via TikTok and Instagram primarily. Also, you can find me on Facebook with the HBCU Sports Nation, and I got something to get off my chest. All right. I don't know who's handling public relations for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I don't give a damn if they get pissed off at me for saying this. There's a bogus level of incompetence that went on with the Lem Barney story that dropped on the Saturday of the Bayou Classic. Now, look, if you're going to have people coming up to Campton or trying to get people to come up to Canton, I should say, for HBCU events, when you drop a story that one of the most historic, legendary players in the history of the NFL, who just happened to go to Jackson State and played for the Detroit Lions for an unbelievable, I believe it was an 11-year career in Lem Barney, you got to make damn sure when you put out a press release, you got the facts straight. And guess what? Saturday afternoon around, I'd say noon Central Time, I'm in the Bayou Classic. I'm at the Superdome. We're setting up and getting ready to broadcast the game that you heard right here on the network. And as soon as I get my computer plugged up, there's a news flash. All right. On this, Google gives you the buzz and they put it out there immediately. Saturday afternoon, I'm going to say noon Eastern, 1:00. Because by then at 1:00, I was on the air with my broadcast. So we're looking in there and I'm thinking to myself, wow, Lem Barney passed away. And so I go on the air with that in the moment, figuring that the source who had put the story out there, being the Pro Football Hall of Fame, knew what the hell they were talking about. Now, when you put it out there on the net and somebody's calling an HBCU event, it's a story, okay? They put out a false story without collaborating with, at the very least, the family. And this is unacceptable, unbelievable. Now, of course, they've issued a retraction and the apology, but the damage is already done. Those of us from that community, the HBCU community, are offended by the Pro Football Hall of Fame right now. Now, I know there are a lot of people for political reasons won't use their platforms to call them out, like, say, NFL Network. But this is ridiculous. And here is the bogus nature of their reaction to it. Here, they sent out an email which read, quote, based on conflicting information regarding the reported passing of Lem Barney, the Pro Football Hall of Fame is rescinding the email sent earlier today. The Hall has not been able to confirm such news independently. Please accept our apology. I would offer up a no with a middle finger. No, it's that you don't brush this off. This is too damn important to a beloved community in Detroit that reveres him with the highest honor. I mean, let's on the holy grail of Detroit sports athletes. I mean, on the Mount Rushmore, he right there. I mean, he before Barry Sanders, there was Lem Barney, the Renaissance man. So this family is going through this crisis right now, and this is just clear. I'm gonna put this out there as some young, post-millennial moving too fast, trying to get something up and not vetting properly, who made this horrific mistake. And it is an embarrassment to the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame has got to be held accountable for this mistake. I'm sorry. I didn't hear anything about it on the First Take show today, how bad that was. Why? Is that because the four-letter network is in bed with the league? I heard nothing. I'm one of those serious radio customers who constantly looks up or listens up and down the dial to see what the people are talking about, not the hosts. And I heard nothing in terms of retraction, no news mentioned of it. And I wonder why. Why is there's a cover-up of a mistake? Okay? This is the problem that I have. Based on conflicting information regarding the reported passing of Lem Barney, the Hall of Fame is rescinding the email. If there was conflicting information, why did you send the damn email out first? Huh? I mean, we're talking about trained professionals at a sanctuary, the ultimate football museum. Okay, that's where, at the very least, the people who are part of the press are curators of said museum. You got to be better than that. You have got to do that. I'm sorry. How does that happen without proper vetting? Are you hiring some young intern on the cheap to handle the story when it should be handled by a professional? You're the caretakers of the memories of pro football. That's your responsibility. Next to the NFL films, you're the most significant historical context of professional football in America as we know it. And you botched this, and in so doing, botched me as I was banking on you as proper vetting when I made my statement on the air Saturday and began the process of thinking how I could honor Lem Barney here tonight. And it's a professional disgrace. I'm embarrassed because of their incompetence that they freely put out there on blast on Saturday. On Saturday. And we're just getting around to an apology. Here we are on, Tuesday? Come on, man. It's crazy. I mean, I'm so heated right now. I almost can't truly wrap my arms around a pretty interesting sports Monday, shall we say. I think we can now officially bring the New England Patriots into the AFC mix. And the craziness of, and again, this has nothing to do with the fact that they just poleaxed the Giants. But then again, the Giants aren't that good. So when you get a team that's not that good in a spot that they were in on the road, you're supposed to poleax them. And guess what? The Giants got poleaxed. And Drake May looked pretty good doing it. So you got a team that has got their quarterback for the future. And again, I'm not going to be that dude that opens up the comparisons to Tom Brady or what have you. But I will say this about Drake May. He has led the Patriots to 10 straight wins, okay, as a rook. Now, it took a while for Brady to come off the bench as a rook because Drew Bledsoe was the starter then. So there was a little bit of friction tension. Ultimately, going into the stretch, Brady was the guy, and the rest that they say is in history, for real. But Drake May can play. He's got a little bit of a swag and an edge about him. I like the way that he throws the deep ball. They play complementary running attack because think about it. If you look even during the days of Belichick, right, there was not that one superstar back. I mean, I thought Robert Edwards was going to be that guy until he tore his knee up at the Pro Bowl. But I think they had Corey Dillon for a hot minute, but he was on the down end of his career. I don't know if I would put Ramondre Stevenson into the category of elite NFL running backs, but for what the Patriots need him to do, pick up blitzes, get tough yards, kind of help them move the chains. He's solid. The acquisition of Diggs was big. So you look at this body of work and suddenly you see, oh my God, at the top of the food chain is Mike Vrabel, who is certainly Belichick light. Their defense looks a lot like the defense when Belichick was there. Now, look, I don't know how to put the Patriots in context right now, but 10 wins in a row is 10 wins in a row. And you've gone to Buffalo and you've beaten them already in Buffalo. Did you hear me? And now Buffalo has to come to them after a bye week. Now, again, I'm not ready to put any shekels on it, but if there's a number that grabs you at, I don't know, 250 to 1 or something like that, and you got a couple shekels that you want to put on it, that's a tough one because it would appear right now, if the playoffs started today, the Patriots will be waiting for next week to start because they get a first-round bye and the top seed. It's going to be a struggle for an older Kansas City team to make their run. There's not a whole lot of gas left in the tank of that team. They've been so good for so long, all their playmakers have run out of gas with the exception of Patrick Mahomes. Chris Jones is a fossil, but I think when he went over to shake the president's hand before the Super Bowl, his demise has started. He's not the terror that he once was on that offensive line. They don't have a big playmaker in the backfield. Patrick Mahomes will be forced to have to make a lot more plays. And at this stage, he's not the same person outside the pocket that he was 2-3 years ago. So I got my doubts about them right now. Houston is a team that's playing good defense. I'm interested in seeing perhaps a Houston-New England confrontation in the playoffs because those two teams right now could be 1 and 2. And Houston's inconsistent at home, but they play defense. D'Amico Ryan should be in talks for Coach of the Year. Have you noticed what the Texans are doing defensively? It's like D'Amico Ryan's is bringing every bit of football acumen that he ever learned. I believe he played. He did play at Alabama. I want to say it was with the Patriots, and that's part of that Belichickian thing too. So keep your eye all of a sudden, to me, in the AFC, where Buffalo has a quarterback that's got some bruises, to say the least. Justin Herbert with the Chargers has broken wrist. The time is now. Kansas City's older, right? So I would have to say that all things considered right now, it's a wide open AFC. And if I'm looking at the Patriots, they got home field, cruddy conditions. They're built in the mold of the great teams. Don't be shocked if New England is a team that makes a strong run deep into the playoffs, if not win the AFC. It's your boy, Professor G. Mark Gray. It's OG Sports Rap on the network. Holla back. Yo, here's a news flash to those of y'all in the NBA who are thinking that, Oklahoma City might be one of those fly-by-night championship teams that come and go quickly. I would tend to believe at this moment in time, not only do you not know the game, you must not be watching enough at night. The defending champs are off to a historic start to the season, boys and girls. Let's be real. They on a stretch where they could go after the all-time wins record for a single season. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is just the fantasy fans player that just keeps on giving. Every night, give him 20 and you should be good. Plus, he's giving you 5-6 assists. Man, if you got him on your fantasy team, you got something else. Really, wow. I see where Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson were named Players of the Week in the West and Eastern Conference, respectively. But still, the amazing thing about SGA is that they're handling themselves like a champion. And they're healthy, number one, which makes them really tough. Number two, they're confident because they know that they're good. And then number three, they're still really young. This is a whole team. And they don't even have Jalen Williams back. Because you get Jalen Williams back, and that's going to free up Chet Holmgren to be a lot more fluid in the offense. Look, everybody's chasing Oklahoma City. Y'all can have all that romantic notion about how Lakers and LeBron got one last run. Steph and the Warriors might be able to do it again. Look, the reason that OKC has the best chance to be a repeat champion is because they're young. That's it. Look, the old guys are going to break down somewhere around March. Kevin Durant will be hurt, trick knee, sprained wrist, bad ankle, something will sideline him in Houston. That'll throw them out of the mix. I don't know who's going to be out in San Francisco, but you can't expect Steph Curry and Draymond Green to play an all 82 game injury-free season. Not going to happen. Okay. Now, what you would hope, quite frankly, understanding that these dudes are, heck, Draymond, my guy, he got as much gray hair as me. I can't get out there anymore, y'all. Okay. And that would be Draymond at this time. Still a Hall of Famer. Don't get it twisted. He just can't give you as many minutes for as many nights anymore as he could when he was 25, as he could when he was 30. And to me, that's why I can't buy into Golden State. And even when you start banking on Jimmy Butler, there's a little bit more rust or rubber left on that tire, shall we say, than perhaps there is left on Steph Curry and certainly on Draymond Green. But he up there in age too. It would be a wonderful story. And I truly do love the way that Steve Kerr basketball. Well, I mean, Steve Kerr's basketball is kind of like an offset of what Phil Jackson did with the triangle offense and what Popovich did with motion action, and it's just it's a wonderful game to watch. It really is. I just don't know if it's going to be long for San Francisco right now because I just think that the Warriors are great. There's no taking anything away from them historically. There's nothing that will happen this season that will take away from the niche that they have carved in the history of pro basketball. But that being said, sports ain't romantic. It's harsh and cruel. And, all these romantic stories now looking wonderful in hopeful ways, but we haven't got to when the season starts yet. And then this godforsaken NBA Cup and these floors, my God. Look, there are those of us who are too damn old to be watching the video game during the real game. Okay? I get where you're coming from, right? But this, translucent, psychedelic, these basketball floors. What? Whose idea was this? If I want to see NBA Cup floors, I'll play the video game. But I don't want to see that on my 4K TV. It's annoying. Too old for that. Oh, we want to play to the young people. That's fine. Can we have the floor with modern technology and just have that on a different channel? You know how you do the Manning cast, right? If you got to have the damn floor for the younger generation, give them their own channel during the game. Get that bogus, fluorescent, translucent, oxymoronic. Whatever. It's terrible. Nothing good comes of a floor like that. It's tough for the fan to watch. It's tough to. I just don't know how the players deal with it. I really don't. And then the cup thing itself. All right, look, I'm for innovation, always at the top of the heap. But an in-season tournament, and the highlight of it is changing floors. Hey, look, if you are a fan for a team and you hoping they win the cup, are you really a fan of the team? I'm wondering how much does Oklahoma City right now actually care about the NBA Cup? They got the chip. Don't go around telling me this is meaningful because it's sponsored by Emirates. Hey, look, we know about Emirates. It's the best flight going in the world, okay? Emirates don't need to sponsor anything in the NBA. They might want to hook the girls up, though, but that's a topic for another show. Oh, yeah, did you hear? The WNBA and the WNBA Players Association have now extended the CBA for another few weeks in order to try to get the girls to capitulate. Stay strong, ladies. Stay strong. And it just goes to show the sexism in American sports still. Between all the Title IX stuff and between, Dawn Staley is getting broke off. Okay, let's be clear. I think she got a $25 million deal from University of South Carolina. Okay. And my thing is this, that's still not on the same level with like men's college football coaches. You know what I'm saying? So when we start talking about equality for women, it's wonderful that you're getting scholarship fully subsidized, but women, when they get to the pros, certainly the women who are benefiting from the legends that were Candace Parker, Lisa Leslie, Maya Moore, those types. Whatever the young ladies do for their generation, they had better make sure that they create the Players Association that is looking out for the women of the past. All right, there are a lot of ladies that never got a chance to make the kind of money, even in endorsement deals away from the floor, to help grow this platform so that Angel Reese can get paid off the floor. Caitlin Clark can get paid off the floor. So that's one thing I hope that the WNBA Players Association is dealing with right now, how to give back to the sisters that came before them that weren't able to take advantage of that avalanche of advertising and away from the floor opportunities that are readily available there. It's almost like Lisa Leslie and the foremothers of the women's professional basketball franchise didn't make nowhere near as much money as these ladies are doing right now in salary, which is still paltry. Okay, so let's be real for a second. I would hope that, and the way that the NBA, pardon me, has set this negotiation up where there's no Adam Silver in the room. This is about the women, okay? This is about the business people having to understand what the players are saying. And what the players are saying basically is, you want us to make a lifetime or a full-time commitment to a part-time job. It doesn't work that way. If you want me to stay in shape year-round, you got to pay me so I can invest in my body. You know, we finally got it to a point where they recognize that it's criminal to have women on road trips flying commercial. Okay, you had to be embarrassed into that. The time has come for them to get out there and ask for some real money, but help to deal with real issues. And the real issues aren't the money per se. And look, I don't want to hear anything about, being paid equal to what the NBA is making. Remember, the WNBA was founded by the NBA. If you can grow your audience and your fan base to the point, quite frankly, where you are filling the arenas on the regular, and you're getting close now. You're getting really, really close consistently. But there is a variation in different markets of, crowd size. I know in D.C. and Atlanta in particular, they've got specific venues that are like smaller college arena size for the teams that rep there. You can't tell me then that the underachieving Hawks who have to try and fill out State Farm Arena and the woefully dreadful Wizards who at least sell out Capital One Arena, because fans around here go to see the other teams because this team is awfully bad. Still, it's a regulation NBA size arena. When they're big games, like Indiana comes to town, then the Mystics will play at Cap One. But for the most part, they got a smaller venue. When we did the show from the Blake Bozeman thing on the day before Thanksgiving, that's the arena that we saw where the Mystics play. But enough of that. The time has come for really, there's got to be a meeting of the minds, because a work stoppage is bad for business, okay? And I think before it got to a work stoppage, Adam Silver would intervene. But I get what he's doing right now. The ladies have to handle this. The players have spoken. The league has pushed back. Now it's time to go after it. And I'll be interested in keeping my eye on the future of Nafisa Collier. Not because I think she's absolutely gorgeous, but she is speaking with a strong tone, and I love her leadership style. I mean, she made it quite clear what the issues were. They're bigger than just finances. I don't think that you can look quite yet at a business model where, when there's so much of the overhead that's being covered by the owners, that you can get as much revenue as you think from the tickets and the media market. But it has to be fair. I'm not quite sure it's 50-50 yet, but it has to be fair. It can't be any more than 52-48, because there has been a spike in attendance and media ratings, largely because of the influence and exposure of the women's college game. Back on the other side, we got more of what you came here for. It's Professor G, the sports OG. The barbershop hasn't closed on the network. As we get ready to tag up and head for home, I just got caught up yesterday and had one last parting memory from the 2025 Bayou Classic weekend. That was all that. It was safe, a little bit too much military presence. But as I said yesterday, having been in the French Quarter when there was murders within 50 feet of me, I can't really beef with the National Guard presence. But I, too, now have a new beef. Because I think that at one time, there was a gender bias about this. Dudes for years have been wearing their pants too damn far down so that you can see their butt cracks. All right, let's be clear about something. Nobody wants to see anybody's butt crack unless you're in a strip bar. Okay? Let's be clear about that right now. It's not sanitary. We don't know where you've been sitting. We don't know what you've been eating. So therefore, you should cover your crack. Please. And I thought it was a dude thing until this weekend. So I'm not trying to fat shame anybody, but when you so big that I see your butt crack, that's fat shameful. And I saw a lot of fat shameful in the French Quarter. It's not a good look, okay? It's never a good look. It's unsanitary and disgusting to those who have to stay behind you when you're walking on a tight street. Too much flesh is not classy, okay? Let's be clear about that. Nothing attractive. When big girls remind you that we don't want to see your butt crack in public anymore. 50 degrees, 30 wind chill factor. I'm seeing cracks for miles around. None of them I was stepping over. Stop it. And again, I don't mean to sound like an OG about this, but please, for the sake and mentality of your elders, please pull your skirts off. My goodness. And then there's that blubber thing hanging out. Come on, cover up. Let's go with the face. Let's go with the face. Let's make the face attractive, because butt crack isn't. It's disheartening to watch scores of young Black women of college age looking like tricks from the Players Club. That's right. The only thing missing was Bernie Mac, Dixon Rossi, Jamie Foxx. Come on, man. Where do we get this? Where's the home training? And dudes try to tell me all the time, oh, that's just how it is, man. No, it's not. Really. Let's be real for a second. If God wanted your crack to be out, he wouldn't have created underwear. It's unsanitary. So please, do us a favor. And if you want to show it off that bad, isn't that what home is for? Seriously. And then you get the attitude of, I don't want you walking behind me. You stay back. Boo, I want to get away from you because I don't want to see your butt crack. Don't be giving me no attitude. I'm trying to get you and you a wide body showing your flesh. And you got all those ladders on the back of your thighs. Stop it. It's nothing attractive. Then you're going to double down and come out of your mouth with something that has no class. Stop it. Grow up. I tell you what, I know one little girl will never have her ass crack out in public. Her last name is Gray. Just ridiculous. Stop it. Yeah, and okay, and let me double down on it for you feminazis for a second. Am I saying it's cool? No. And there ain't no gender bias with that either. I don't see no Black dudes crack either. It's a disgrace. What are you so proud of your crack you want everybody to see it? No, keep your crack to yourself. Please. That's your business. We don't want none of it. And then you're going to double down and get mad? We say, damn, yuck, please. That's my public service announcement for the evening, y'all. We got to change the dynamic of some of the behaviors to offset the premise that this is how Black Americans carry themselves. No, they don't. It's how tackheads carry themselves. Tacky people doing tacky stuff, which is disgusting, and then it becomes an iconic part of society. Walking with your butt crack out is the dressing version of, slur politics. Never looks good, doesn't age well. Sorry. Again, no more. Now, we got several generational issues, that y'all got to start getting with. I'll deal with the fact that you can't critically think because I read the book 1984, and I know that people younger than Generation X consume their information electronically. And guess what? If you're on like Snapchat, I see what's influencing. That's why I'm rarely, if ever, on Snapchat. You know why? Too much butt crack. Yup. That's like the social media platform for cracks. And as that thing has blown up, I've started to see a lot more of that dysfunctional, social, nasty phenomenon be acceptable in society. It is not. It is a bad look. And this is on parents, y'all. Listen, seriously, y'all need to start setting some parameters on how your kid looks, because that's a representation of you. Do you want us to think that when we see your kid, his boxes hanging down so far that we can see his butt crack, do you want us to think of you being a parent who let their kid out showing their butt crack? That's a thing? But then again, I don't know, man, because I see like old dudes doing it too. What is this phenomenon? It's unsanitary, it's unhealthy, it's disgraceful, it makes you look like a fool, yet people double down on it. Really? What is the sociological significance of that? Again, I don't see any other people, sorry to put it to y'all like this, I don't really see, white dudes showing their butt cracks. Not that I'm looking at it. Still, it's nasty. It's disgusting and disgraceful. You should be ashamed of yourself. If we were back in the medieval times, anytime I saw a butt crack, I'd have people flogged. Think I wouldn't? Mess around. Tell me what the fascination is, and I will not force you to get off my lawn. But I'm sorry. This is where the OG puts the fence up and says, stay off my GD lawn. Because that is a disgraceful act, man. And maybe I'm more conscious of Black Americans with this phenomenon because I know the perils that we face. And there's a perception of criminal mindset when young Black men have their pants hanging down and you can see their crack. And in this era of pull you up on the street, throw you down, beat your ass and kill you, you need to be mindful of how you look. Now, I could be in a suit and tie and the same thing happened to me, but I might be able to get more of a benefit of the doubt when my ass ain't showing on the street. Think about that. Do you want to be known for your butt crack? Just ponder that. Think about it. Now, people use a certain disparaging remark, a-hole, and where's the a-hole? In between the butt crack. Come on, man. It just makes no sense. The time has come for people like me to just have to call Gen Z, the millennials, Generation Y, whatever. Y'all got to be called out because perception is reality. And what happens is initial interaction leaves an impression on somebody that could change the direction of your life. But if you out there dressed in a certain fashion that presents not the best of you, and I will tell you this, seeing the crack of your backside is not presenting the best of you, especially when we first meet, okay? Now, again, I'm not saying walking down Canal Street during the Bayou Classic is going to be one of those times you're going to meet somebody who could change the direction of your life professionally or financially. But you never know. And who's to say that the person that can change the direction of your life is somebody who looks at me and goes, do I really want to be around somebody and see they butt crack all the time? Nah, I want to get as far away as I can from that nasty, unsanitary, stank butt. You know what I'm saying? That is a pet peeve of mine, and I'm going to bang that monkey indefinitely. Wash your backside, cover your backside, never show your crack. Okay? Seriously. And there's no gender bias here. Now, I've been saying this about dudes forever. I never thought I'd get to a point we'd have to address women. I mean, some things had always been the holy grail that you kept to yourself. Even with your little G-strings on, you had a skirt on, we didn't have to see anything. Leave it to the imagination. But I think that's what's going on here. And I think this speaks to a bigger societal problem that young parents have to deal with. You've capitulated so much to give in to what your child wants to do that you feel intimidated that you can't address them by things which are so foolish as exposing your butt crack. I mean, I'm in a place where we got public transportation. People sitting down, leaving butt crack juice. Do you think anybody wants to sit in that butt crack juice on the subway? No. So do us all a favor. First off, make sure if you're going to have your butt crack out, it's clean so that you're not spreading no disease. But to offset all that, cover your freaking ass. Please. You know, I remember they used to say, don't smoke. It's a matter of life or death. Cover your butt crack. That too these days with Bobby Kennedy running, you know, the anti-vaccine mandate. That's slowly but surely become a fast track to what? Jaundice, sepsis, you know, something that could end your life prematurely, folks. And that's no laughing matter. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. Professor G, your sports OG. It's been OG Sports Rap on the network. Holler at your folks in about 22 hours. Deuces. As we rock on with OG Sports Rap, Lloyd Vance, our NFL insider, joins us right now as we are still looking for clarity right now on what was reported on Saturday as the passing of Lem Barney. So you're in touch closer with the people in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. How do you understand this story as it is in fact being reported right now?
Well, unfortunately, Mark, it was put out there on November 29th that he had passed away. Obviously, Lem Barney has some health issues that he's dealing with, but his family contacted them and said, no, he's still alive and you know, still progressing and that they need to retract that situation. So the Pro Football Hall of Fame is blaming the Detroit Lions. You know, it's a finger pointing exercise. The good news is Lem Barney's still around with us.
Amen. And I'd referred to him previously in the program under the thought that he had passed away. He was an American treasure. Make no mistake about that. Anybody who got in the presence of Lem Barney felt a warmth about a real gentleman who was a hell of a football player. I'm pretty sure you had some interactions with him. What are your lasting memories, or for the lack of a better term, what kind of person was he when you met him?
Yeah, Slim Barney, you know, he's a legend in the game, Mark. And you know, I'm part of the Black College Football Hall of Fame selection committee. And he was one of those guys we debated right away for an inaugural class in 2010. And he ended up being our second class because there was just so many guys we had to get in with that initial group. But, you know, make no bones about it. He is one of those guys. We know that the game was not fair at a certain point in college football and the National Football League in terms of African American players. And he came into the league, one of those first wave of guys that was a true superstar coming from the HBCU ranks, Jackson State in 1967, second round pick, you know, selected in the 30s. That just shows you the value that they saw in him. Three-time all-SWAC guy. And then when he came to NFL, immediate impact, defensive rookie of the year. First game intercepts Bart Starr. You know, so cornerstone of the Detroit Lions. They truly respect him, and he's one of the cornerstones of that franchise.
Lloyd Vance is our guest. He is our NFL insider as we talk a little bit about the historic NFL career of Lem Barney. Fortunately, we now know that he has not passed, but I still want to look back at it because in that insulated, I'm glad you brought the SWAC up. In that insulated crucible of great all-time NFL cornerbacks. I mean, he was part of an era. You had Mel Blount at Southern, Willie Brown with the Raiders, who was at Grambling. You had Lem Barney at Jackson. Has there ever, if you look at the totality of the NFL, has there ever been a greater collection at any moment of talented Hall of Fame caliber quarterbacks at one time in the same college conference?
Well, this is just the glory days of Black college football, you know, Mark. And a lot of people say, well, these guys should have their opportunities at other places to play, you know, SEC type schools that guys would go to today. But this is where the talent was in the SWAC, and it was down south. You know, these guys got their opportunities there, and they learned from some of the great coaches out there that taught them well. And it was unfortunate they weren't able to play at predominantly white universities against what they said were the best, but the best ball was probably being played at college, you know, black colleges.
You're right.
In terms of the receivers, the DBs. I mean, these guys could play very well. And then the NFL, they wised up. They said, you know what, we need to get some speed on the field. You know, guys like Hank Stram, he looked and saw that the power of the guys down there, who could play and get them on the field, and who cared about all the politics. These guys can help us win. And Lem Barney was one of those types of guys.
It's funny that you mentioned that because the great Willie Lanier from my alma mater told me that Hank Stram made him captain. He didn't care of the defense. It wasn't about a color thing. He was the smartest guy on defense. And for him to put the quarterback of the defense into the hands of a black guy at that time and then win a Super Bowl, I think Buck Buchanan was on that team as well.
Yes.
I mean, my goodness. Where would we have been in the NFL had those guys not played at such a Hall of Fame elite level?
Well, that's a great question, Mark, because they changed the attitudes of decision makers around the National Football League, particularly the owners and the general manager. They said, we have the talent. You need to play us. Give us our opportunity. And I remember at our first inaugural dinner for the Black College Football Hall of Fame, Deacon Jones talked about this, how the talent was there. He actually scolded everyone in the room and said, look, you should have gave us our opportunity a long time ago. And this is true. And these men, it's great that they're finally getting their flowers as trailblazers. And Lem Barney's one of those guys. He's a cornerstone gentleman in the National Football League. Obviously got into the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well in 1992. But we need to not forget, the roads that these guys blaze. I know a lot of the quarterbacks and the roads they went to, and you hear their stories. I mean, these guys trailblaze for these young guys to get out there today.
Lloyd Vance, our NFL insider, as we continue here talking some NFL. Want to talk some contemporary stuff with you right quick.
Sure.
What'd you make of Monday night's performance by the Steeler fans? In terms of expressing their, well, not Monday night, but, Sunday, I guess it was. They really expressed the displeasure with Mike Tomlin. I know even if he is fired, he probably becomes one of the hottest candidates for a new job. What do you make of Tomlin's time in Pittsburgh right now? Is it running out? Is it over? Or can he get it back together?
Well, the fans, a lot of times, if owners listen to them, they'll be sitting with them. So we'll see if the Rooneys listen to their discontent. And I think he's been there a long time, Mark. He's been there since, I think, 2007. So very long tenure here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, he's never had a losing season, but there's a lot of disappointment around his team. Now, you can point that to the way the Rooneys have built it, and Khan, the general manager there, they put the personnel together. And Mike Tomlin's done a great job with whoever they've given him. And let's face it, they have not had a quarterback really since Ben Roethlisberger retired. So, they let a lot of people go. Look at George Pickens. He is just dominant down with the Dallas Cowboys, and they're trying to reface that organization. But he may not have the pieces to get to that winning season that we always talk about him having. So something is amiss there. We'll see how they look at it. But knowing guys that have worked in that organization, that's just not their way to get rid of their coach. So I think Tom is going to be there as long as he wants to be there. And as you said, if he does leave the Steelers, he'll quickly find a new landing spot around the NFL.
What do you think of the Patriots, and especially in Drake May? They've won 10 in a row and are flirting with being the top seed. I don't know if anybody in that conference would fear having to go into New England to win, but they've already beaten Buffalo. I believe it was at Buffalo, too. So what do we make of the Patriots? Legit or Cinderella?
No, if the playoffs started today, they'd be the number one seed in the AFC. And that game, yes, it was against an opponent that you figured that they would beat on Monday Night Football, but it just showed everybody, okay, they are a dominant team, and they're putting all the pieces together. And Mike Abel's coming there, no nonsense. He's cleaned up the locker room, brought a veteran presence. He's brought a lot of guys in leadership type roles, like Robert Spillane at linebacker. He's coming over from the Raiders, bringing that tough style. And then Milton Williams from the Philadelphia Eagles, who I'm familiar with, and he's bringing that championship pedigree. And they're just building a winner. It's no nonsense. They're going about their business, and they're a physical team. And you got to tip your hat to Drake May, because he's playing at a very high level, completing over 70% of his passes.
That's crazy, isn't it? I mean, I'm not going to even get into the Brady comparison, because I think Drake May is a better athlete. I mean, he does a little bit more outside the pocket than Brady did, but there were some things on Monday night, Lloyd, where he was dropping dimes down the field that, maybe I sold him short on. It is an amazing job what they have done in order to, put this kid in a position to succeed.
Correct. And he came out of North Carolina and like, okay, kind of reminds you of Mitch Trubisky. Well, he's way better than that. He's efficient with the football. He makes smart decisions with it. And as you said, he's dual threat. So he can get out on the edge, kind of like a smaller Josh Allen. I mean, he makes smart plays in terms of getting first downs, keeping the chains moving. And he's spreading the football around to a lot of different receivers. They have Diggs there, they have Hunter Henry. And I really like their running backs. Stevenson had some fumbling issues earlier this season. He seems to cure that. Travion Henderson coming there for Ohio State. He's playing at a high level. So they're a dangerous team. The big thing you have to watch, though, is they have some health issues on their offensive line with Campbell being out in one of their guards.
Lloyd Vance with us. We're talking some NFL. Hard to believe we're like into week 13 already. I was talking earlier to somebody from Minneapolis, and let's talk about the Saints for a second and the unfortunate mess that is J.J. McCarthy. Last year, and I kind of look at him as a guy in a college term. He's a redshirt freshman this year. Have you seen red flags that are concerning, or are we basically looking at a second-year pro quarterback who's still a rookie?
Well, Mark, in today's NFL, they're not waiting on anybody. And he was the 10th overall pick. So a lot of expectations on him. He did get injured last year with that knee injury. And he's only started, I think, 6 to 7 games in the National Football League. So you do want to give him time. But there are some shake your head type moments early in his career. You're like, you're not sure. And some people are saying he's reminding them of Jamarcus Russell with the Raiders in terms of his preparation, in terms of his play on the field. And he's not getting the ball out of his hands, taking too many sacks. He's inaccurate. And you look at Justin Jefferson, one of the best receivers in the league. He's having trouble getting him the football. So a lot of frustration in that locker room, but they're stuck with him at this point.
Jamarcus Russell. Isn't that Greek for overrated? I mean, come on, man. That is almost like the death sentence of references if you're a quarterback in the National Football League. All right, what's been the fallout in Philly? Okay, you're close to that situation. Disappointing weekend. I know the sky's probably fallen 15 times already. What do you make of? I mean, Philly's offense to me, Lloyd, is a mess. And how do we get to that part?
Well, there's a lot of pieces involved in this, Mark, and I'm getting all kinds of texts and phone calls from all my family and relatives that they're Eagles fans, they're Eagles people, and I analyze this thing and look at it, and you're right. There's a lot of things that are going wrong with this offense, and in particularly the offensive line was the engine last year. That group that started game one has only been together for one game, and there's been injuries, there's been guys in and out of lineup. And I think that has a lot to do with their consistency. Saquon Barkley, obviously not the same guy after last season, dealing with a groin injury, not running effectively. He only had 13 rushes in this loss to Chicago Bears. And they need to figure out if he's going to be able to get to the finish line, maybe get Bigsby some more carries. But he's truly kind of worn down after 450-plus touches last year. And then the elephant in the room, is it Jalen Hurts? Is it Kevin Patullo, the offense coordinator? Or Nick Sirianni in terms of the efficiency of this down in and down out offense. So, Jalen Hurts did have a bad game against the Bears. He had uncharacteristic interception. And then on the tush push, he got the ball ripped from him for a fumble. So those were huge plays in that game. And then Patullo, he kind of got slid into the offensive coordinator position by Nick Sirianni. He didn't really interview anybody. He's his boy. He's been on his staff.
Really?
He's been on his staff ever since Sirianni's been there, been around, and I think he kind of threw him a bone, Mark. And I don't think Patullo was ready to be that play caller in the National Football League. And a lot of fans, it's getting ugly. You're seeing signs outside the stadium, all kinds of things. Fire Kevin, it's all over the airwaves here in the Philadelphia area. So Sirianni's standing by him, and he may be cutting off his nose to spite his face.
Well, people whose last name ends in a vowel have tendency to look out for other people whose last name ends in a vowel. I've just noticed that to be the case in a lot of different business decisions. But then again, that's just me. What do you make of Chicago now, though? The emergence of Caleb Williams. I don't know whether it's a bad, and you tell me, was it a bad defensive day for Philadelphia that made Caleb Williams look so good? Or are you seeing an emerging superstar playing at the level that the first pick in the draft should be now?
Well, you got to tip your cap to Ryan Poles, their general manager. He did a great job in terms of turning around that offensive line for Chicago Bears. And that unit was allowing so many sacks last year. This year, they have kept Caleb Williams clean, and they are just blasting holes in defense. And I think that's what drove this game against the Philadelphia Eagles. They dominated up front. They ran for 281 yards, held the ball for 39 minutes in this one. Caleb was efficient, but his percentage wasn't the best, 17 to 36, 154.
Okay.
Had a TD and interception, but he's running an operation, and he did a nice job controlling the situation. Kyle Monange coming over from Rutgers, running the ball extremely well for them, 22 for 130, and he's put the pressure on Swift to kind of step up. He had 18 rushes for 125, so that just shows you they dominated up front, and they opened a lot of eyes around the National Football League because they were the only game on Friday and everyone got to see them. And I wasn't buying in their stock, but after that game, you truly got to say, okay, the NFC's #1 seed, and they're a force to be reckoned with at this point in the season.
And Carolina with a big win over the weekend, Lloyd, and the emergence of Bryce Young as their starting quarterback. I mean, this time last year, there were a lot of people saying he's a bust. He's never going to be up to the standard of the Heisman Trophy winner. And suddenly, what happened in Carolina?
That, Mark, that was another surprise. And it's situation, you have to wait on some of these young quarterbacks. Yes, some of them are going to be busts, but they're thrusting them into the lineup so quickly. I think teams would probably be better served kind of looking at the way the Packers kind of brought along Jordan Love a little slower. I remember Steve McNair coming out. Alcorn, they brought him a little slower with the Oilers, Chris Chandler in there for him to kind of learn from. So, Bryce Young, they thrust him out there. And yes, he was almost benched last year for Andy Dalton permanently. And he finally got his opportunity. A little inconsistent. He's up and down, but he was good this week. I mean, very efficient. 15 passes, 20 completed on 20 throws, 75%. That is only about 206 yardage wise, but 3 TDs, no interceptions, driving the football down. And the conditions were not good in that game, Mark. It was windy, a lot of rain, and he had that huge throw, that 43-yarder to Ted McMillan to win it.
For the impact that he's had on that team coming in, could we make an argument for Rico Dowdle as MVP? Because he's definitely taken a lot of the pressure off of Bryce Young, and with them able to rush the football with frequency and effectively, that seems to have taken a lot of pressure off of that second-year quarterback.
Yes, and Chuba Hubbard reemerged this week as well, running the football for him, and they're opportunistic in terms of their defense. The defense is kind of no name. They got rid of a lot of our guys like Burns, sending him to the Giants, but they had some players stepping up. They got 3 big turnovers against Matthew Stafford that turned this game. They did a nice job in terms of just being physical up front. And yes, they running the football, and that's setting up that play action where he can get it to McMillan and Coker. And, they're an interesting team because right now they'd be on the outside looking in, but they're putting some serious pressure on the Tampa Bay Bucks in terms of that NFC South division.
That is my guy, our NFL insider, Lloyd Vance. Thanks for hanging out with us, Lloyd. Look forward to doing it again next week. And we got more on the other side as we continue to move this thing. It's Professor G, the Sports OG. This is the Sports Rap Network. All right, Lloyd, they get ready. All right, later.
Bye.
It's the OG, Professor G, back at it. Sports Rap Barbershop for your soul nightly is OG Sports Rap. Proud to be your nightly OG. And I'm glad you're hanging out with me as we continue to move it along here in honor of Lem Barney. And don't look now, boys and girls. We probably have another entrant, legitimate entrant in the AFC playoff picture. Now, I'm not going to go around and start jumping on the bandwagon for the New England Patriots. I mean, they are beating up on the bottom feeders of the New York Giants, and they beat them like they were supposed to, 33-15 last night on Monday Night Football. But I will say this. there is something about the Patriots that make them interesting. I'm not going to say they're going to go from crap to sugar in just one season, but the team in New England looks better than any of the other teams that Mike Vrabel has had when he's gone to the playoffs. They're disciplined, and Drake May has proven himself, in my opinion, to be something other than just a game manager. And I got to give credit where credit is due. You don't just win 10 games in a row unless your quarterback is a baller. Okay, and let's just put that out there right now. This dude has led the Patriots to 10 straight wins. He's playing better right now than Hall of Fame quarterback. Who'd you rather have right now, Drake May or Aaron Rodgers? Drake May. I mean, think about it. Kirk Cousins. Would you rather have Kirk Cousins or Drake May? I'd say Drake May. Drake May is playing at a level wise beyond his years. And coming out of Carolina, we kind of thought he had skills, but he's found his home. And with New England, as far as coaching is concerned, they got an adult in the room now. Mike Vrabel is about as close to a Bill Belichick clone as there's going to be. And it's a perfect synergy in Foxborough right now. Quarterback and head coach are simpatico. He's got a great relationship with his receivers. So you start just looking at Drake May's growth over the last 12 weeks. In particular, it's been absolutely ridiculous. I mean, for real. Let's just talk about this. It's been one of the most dramatic improvements in the league. This is a second-year quarterback right now who's really playing himself into talk of an MVP. Let's be real. His progress from a 4-13 rookie season to an 11-2 team record is the jump start of the turnaround for the dynasty to come back. He's got a great understanding of the system that Josh McDaniels has in place. And what we're seeing is Josh McDaniels is not a head coach, but he's a hell of an offensive coordinator. I don't think you can flirt with him anymore as a head coach, but he's a damn good quarterback developer. And you just look, even the experts are saying right now that the jump that this quarterback has made since his rookie year is processing speed. He sees stuff faster now, and he gets through his reads on the field, and he has command of the huddle. His teammates are all talking about him using such terms as conductor. Really? So he's a maestro of the offense in his second season. The only person that I've seen do that over the last decades is a fellow named Mahomes. And if the playoffs were to start today, New England would be the number one seed. Well, they'd have a bye, but Kansas City would be struggling to get in the field. And here's what we'll learn more about, because what people don't give Tom Brady credit for is playing in New England all those years in that hellacious weather. And Brady was groomed in Ann Arbor. So by late October, early November, he knew how to handle the cold. Drake May played at North Carolina. So you're talking about a kid who's from the South, had to acclimate himself to some of the most horrendous weather conditions annually and embrace it, and he has gotten better. And he's throwing the deep ball. It's insane to watch it. And you go and look at the numbers, he's completing 71.5%. Think about that. Deep passes, plus 20 yards. Those are deep balls. And then you can't blitz him because he leads the NFL in QBR with a 75.1 completion rate when blitzed. Think about that. And then 69% of the touchdowns, or of his passes, I should say, consist of 9 touchdowns and only 1 interception. again, he's figured out the process and the blitz can no longer get to him. Now, again, I don't want to sound like I'm having a man crush on a guy that beat up on the New York Giants, who are what we think they are, not that good. But I'm just saying, you look at his entire body of work, you win 10 in a row, you've won 10 in a row, especially in your second year, and you've defined yourself as that dude for the future. So as the Patriots start, you look at the Patriots right now, you see their comeback and their run to their new next Super Bowl is now, okay? The New England Patriots are showing us right now in this 10-game win streak, when you get the right quarterback and the coach and they're locked in together, you change the direction. And don't look now, folks. They've already beaten Buffalo in Buffalo. Buffalo has to come off of their bye week, if I'm not mistaken, and go to New England. That's going to answer some questions about the division. And Buffalo right now is doing what they normally do. It's a late season tailspin. We always see it happening. We try to, buy into the notion that Josh Allen is going to find a way to lead him to the promised land, but you don't win big games in October. And to me, Josh Allen, much like Dak Prescott, is Mr. October. That's a good thing when you're in the World Series, but it's not a good thing when you're in the NFL, which opens the door like we've seen. And see, the only reason that I bring this up is because we've seen this in the past with the Patriots, okay? Now, dare I call Drake May Tom Brady? Drake May is not Tom Brady, okay? Let's understand that, okay? They're two totally different style of quarterbacks. Hey, you got Tom Brady off of his spot like the Giants did in both Super Bowls that he lost to Eli Manning. He wasn't the same quarterback. Now, more often than not, when you had the Damian Woodies and the Joe Andrewsies on the offensive line, your boy Brady didn't have to worry about dancing around a lot at all. Drake May's an athlete. Tom Brady's a football player. You can make an athlete a football player. You can't make a football player an athlete. Now, the Patriots found their arm and a guy who was smart that could manage the game and make big plays, okay? If he needed to put you on his back, he would. Drake May has more physical tools, all right? I saw this with my own eyes, the mobility. And think about this. This is the thing I think. And look, 7 Super Bowls, no matter how you do it. This is enormously unfair to Drake May to make a comparison to Tom Brady, because in the way that the parity situation is working out, unless your front office is like that, those dynastic runs are not going to be anymore. But I will say what makes New England potentially back on the road to the Super Bowl is, A, they finally found their long-term successor to Brady. It's been a revolving door quarterback since 2019, okay? Let's be clear about that. And I appreciate the fact that Drake May, and you have to be confident in that role, okay? You have to be a chip on your shoulder, SOB, to be an NFL quarterback. Because if you're not, the harsh realities of the scrutiny and the physical pounding that you're going to take, you'll be treated like a punk, right? All the players will tell you that. But I like the fact that May understands, look, I ain't Tom Brady. I can't live up to the Tom Brady standard that he played at. I can only be Drake May. And you can just see his groundedness in the way that he handles the huddle. This is a disciplined New England team, too. It's back to like Belichick was in his heyday. They don't beat themselves. They're extremely disciplined. They're one of the least penalized teams in the league. And they seem to make the right coaching decisions all of the time. Now, look, there's a higher bar for New England, and that's Brady's fault. So everybody up, the chowder heads are going to be wondering when they're going to get back to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying it's this year. The AFC still is a gauntlet. You still have to go through Patrick Mahomes. I think you do have people that are falling like flies, though, if you will. Quarterbacks are just dropping. And you look at Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to get the Steelers there. I think the kid in San Diego, Los Angeles, the Chargers, Herbert has something going on with his wrist. If it's not totally broken, with the Chiefs being vulnerable and a number of big-time quarterbacks having significant injuries, suddenly what we thought was the domain of, say, the Chiefs and Bills, I thought the Steelers were going to be in the mix, and the Ravens has opened wide up for anybody to come off the pace and win. And again, let's not get it twisted, y'all. I'm not buying into the notion that the Patriots proved last night that they were going to win the AFC by beating the New York Giants, but they didn't FA with the Giants to FO that, they weren't as good as they are. We now know the Patriots are a factor in the AFC. We saw it. Now, again, the Giants aren't the benchmark. The benchmark is 10 straight wins. That don't happen every now and then. Heck, that don't happen regularly. In fact, rarely, if ever, does it happen. And guess what? They've done it. So they're moving on for number 11. Can they keep it going? Can Vrabel finally figure out how to get it done in the postseason? We know he can get the team to the postseason, but can he help them advance? Second season, as Jim Valvano would say, survive and advance. I'm anxious to see what the Patriots are going to do. It's your boy, Professor G, Sports OG. It's OG Sports Rap. Come on back to the barbershop, you hear? On the network.